Welcome to School and Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds, featuring prominent leaders, subject matter experts, and thought innovators with their perspectives on the current challenges facing K-12 education. I am your host, Larissa Napolitan, a former teacher, instructional coach, and a member of the Branching Minds team, here to lead conversations and to shine a light on phenomenal educators and those that are on a mission to transform our schools and the lives of students. Maybe you've been listening for a while, or this is your first episode. If you like what you hear, would you do us a favor by rating and reviewing us on iTunes? This is a fantastic way to tell us you enjoy what we are creating. Also, if you want more MTSS resources, sign up for our weekly newsletter using the link in our show notes, and check out our website for all the blogs and guides you would ever need about MTSS. Teachers today face the delicate challenge of integrating technology into their lessons while still addressing the unique needs of each student. Having experienced both ends of the spectrum, having too much technology and not enough, I understand the complexities of striking the right balance. So today we're joined by Joshua Windham, a tech-savvy educator who will share how he leverages technology to effectively meet the diverse needs of his students. Welcome to the podcast, Josh.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, I'm so glad that you could join us to talk about this topic. I am fairly passionate about it as well, but it's been a few years since I've been in the classroom, so I knew I needed to talk to somebody that's like in it right now, and facing all the new, because I feel like technology just comes at us so fast. First, I wanted you to just kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your students, your school, maybe just a little bit about why you are a teacher.
Okay. So I teach 8th grade history. I'm a social studies teacher in Beaumont, Texas at Odom Academy. We're a pretty unique school. We house a advanced academics program at my school, in addition to on-level students as well. And so we are blessed to be able to have a diverse group of students, ethnically, academically. And so technology is a big part of, reaching all of those students and making sure we have equitable education for everybody.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. So as a tech savvy teacher, what's one piece of school technology that you've held on to?
So technology, in my opinion, is all about using technology intentionally and making sure that you're balancing it out. So keeping some of those, what we would call old school tech tools, is still important. We need to make sure that our technology is enhancing learning. We're not distracting from the learning, and making sure that students are being provided the best tools to learn. And so in some cases, I may use something as advanced as AI in the class, but in other times, especially like with primary sources, I'm very much pen and paper. I love a good pen and paper with a primary source, annotating it, highlighting, underlining, circling. We have procedures and processes for what each of the annotations mean. And I just don't think there's anything that can beat that when it comes to analyzing primary sources. I've tried digital tools to do that, such as Cami or whatever, but nothing as good as a pen and paper.
Same.
It's not.
I know.
It's not.
As an English teacher, I really struggled to give up my Elmo. I don't know if you ever worked with one of those, but it was like basically like
Document
a projector,
camera.
an Elmo camera, so I could annotate the piece of paper and have them, demonstrate for students what it looked like. And then I would do it myself on an iPad, and I'd use like a pencil, but I'd still have them do it on the paper, because like having that experience of highlight exactly what you need to highlight, being able to write in the tiny text if you need to, like all of that. It's so hard to do. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's just harder, and it's not as authentic, I think, of sort of the same annotation.
And the challenge now is becoming, because all of their tests are online, how we can integrate what we're doing on the paper, and it can also be used on the online test. So I've had to kind of take a step back and look at all of that as well and figure out how we are annotating both, make them work for both.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, that kind of leads to my next question is just like, how has using technology in your classroom changed the way that you even connect with students who maybe have different learning needs? So, we talk about like there's lots of different technology out there that we can use to meet the needs, but some of it doesn't always fit what students actually need. And so, like, how do you integrate that into your like how you teach?
Yeah, so technology is really making it easier, I think, in my opinion, to differentiate between your learners. I mean, everyone learns differently. Some are tactile, some are visual, some are hearing. And so it's about using those tools to our advantage, whether it be through text to speech. Text leveling is a newer one that's starting to get pretty um, useful and effective. Um, Voice to text, I'm enjoying as well because not every student is capable or enjoys writing and doing so. So voice to text often lets them show proof of knowledge. Translation as
Mm.
well, because I live in a big ESL district. So my job as a social studies teacher is to teach social studies. So I want to make sure that they're with us at all times. I'm really getting into like translanguaging as well, which is a different topic. But anyways,
So when
uh,
you said text leveling, do you mean like bringing like the reading level of the text to a different place for students? Is that what you mean?
yes. So especially in social studies, and I'm sorry, I'm speak a lot about social studies.
That's okay.
Uh,
You're a social studies teacher. We
I think a lot of the documents that we give students, especially there are, from 1776, and George Washington is, talking, and so it's the text leveling app or devices we use that allow us to bring the level of the reading level of those documents down to where the students are a little bit more able to understand what they're talking about, and then comparing and contrasting and seeing um what words are they using, how can we use this word in everyday language, things like that. It's really useful.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, and I would say for primary documents, that's a huge deal because, there's so much how language has changed. And even students today, even really, I say advanced readers still can
Hmm.
struggle with kind of wading through. And I remember myself reading really old classic literature, and it just took me so much longer to get through it because the text level was just, it's so much more
Yeah,
dense, I think sometimes.
you read it
And
twice.
so, yeah. And you're like, wait, that is not a word we use in our modern day. Have to look that up. So that's really useful for students to kind of dig into that and be able to take the gist of that. So can you kind of think of a time maybe like it's made an impact to be able to have those kinds of tools in front of you?
Yeah, so on the subject of text leveling and stuff, I had a student who was dyslexic. She was in all the dyslexia classes, and she really hadn't had access to that type of education. And so me and the dyslexic teacher, and who also happened to be her reading teacher, worked really closely together to make sure that we were providing the correct resources and tools for her to be successful. And you could tell throughout the year, and it was really amazing to watch, actually. She was very, even in her demeanor and her social aspect, was very mild, timid. She didn't answer questions. She wasn't participating in discussions. But as she became a little bit more confident in reading the things that we were giving her, she started to branch out more. She answered questions. She raised her hand. She participated in discussions. She had opinions. She was opinionated. But it was really amazing to watch. And it all just stems from us being able to use technology to differentiate her learning and make that learning inclusive, make it equitable so that all students can be successful.
Yeah, I love that kind of story because we forget. I think it's easy to forget how students perceive themselves or even just their own abilities
Yeah.
impacts their experience, right? And their everyday experience, and how that lack of confidence that maybe she had prevented her from participating. And made her more, just her demeanor. I think that that's a great word, like how that can transform for them. And
Yeah.
so that's great to have those kind of tools. I know that, and it makes a big difference to them. I love what you said about like the voice to text. I had students use that a lot sometimes when we talked about literature, because I wanted them to be able to, they could tell me the answer and what they're thinking, but that putting it into words on a page is sometimes so hard, like that skill.
Yeah.
It's helpful for them in writing.
It's the application of the
Mm-hmm.
learning. And so I also like to use it like, so here's the question, just voice to text, all of the things you can think about this, listen to it back, answer the question. Oh, you just said the answer. You knew it all along. You just let that trip you up. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
And those are such like, I think that I love that you mentioned these because they're such simple like technology
Yeah,
tools
it's
that
not
have like
yeah.
voice to text has been around a long time.
Yeah. It's not like
But I
we're creating something crazy out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the text leveling stuff, I know I've had someone talk about that with AI, of just being able that ability. And I was thinking like, man, if I had that when I was teaching like 10 years
Yeah.
ago, it would have made it a lot easier. And so now you can do that with AI. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. Almost takes
Um,
away the excuses of, oh, I don't have time to differentiate. Yeah, you do. It's a button. You hit a button.
yeah. I think honestly, like that's what I've seen a lot, is just that ability to differentiate has gotten so much easier with
Mhm.
more technology tools, and especially with AI. And that's a huge burden lifted off of teachers, because that's a difficult part of teaching, is not having those resources for differentiation. So kind of speaking of some of these different tools, what are some of your go-to digital tools or apps that you rely on a lot, and especially for students who have some unique challenges?
Okay, so there are some pretty great ones right now, and I've kind of gotten stuck in some of them, and I keep on using the same ones, and I got to branch out further. But um, I teach social studies, and it's a tested subject, and so we have a writing component. And so one of my favorites right now is My Short Answer. So you have a prompt that you put into the My Short Answer. It allows all of the students to answer the question, and then um, it shuffles through them, and then it lets the students basically peer grade or peer edit or whatever you want to call it, each other's answers to the prompt. And so they are able to look at two different options, and you have criteria that allows you to pick which one you like more based off of the criteria. And then they are literally grading each other's responses. So it allows them to see each other's responses
Mhm.
anonymously. So they're not picking favorites or anything like that, or we're not making anybody feel embarrassed or any of that. And it really, when I use it, I'm able to say, okay, why did this person receive the most points? Because it gamifies it as well. So there's a point and a winner. Why is
Mhm.
this person receiving the most points? What did they do that you could apply to your own short constructed responses? And so it really allows the next level of writing, instead of me sitting there with a red pen, saying, do this, do that, do this.
Mhm.
It allows the students to see each other's own work and apply that in their own writing, which is really cool to see, like aha moments of, oh, they did this. Why didn't I think of that? Okay,
Yeah.
well, next time you can. So
Well, and it
that's really
adds
cool.
that element that's so important in middle school, of that peer interaction and
Mm-hmm.
that peer feedback, I think. Sometimes the words from their peers may carry more
Yeah,
weight for them.
yeah. It definitely
Or even,
does.
I think maybe less. Sometimes it's also like less threatening. It's like a level down from what the teacher and they can see what other people did. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I love that one. Of course, with gamification, I have the good old Blook It and Gimkit. I mean, you can't go wrong with them. I don't understand what it does to them, but those kids will go crazy over a Blook It game. But
Yeah.
I
Oh,
do like
Gimkit was huge.
well,
They go crazy about that
and they
stuff.
don't realize they're learning. Like, you answer that question 3 times and you got it wrong the first time, and you remembered it for the second and third time, and now you know it. They
Yeah.
don't realize it. So speaking of like AI, artificial intelligence, I'm really into school AI or Magic School. I think those are a lot of fun for students and for teachers, especially the teacher aspect. I mean, you can make your own quizzes from there, lesson plan, anything you need to do, it probably, could whip out for you. But I'm really into the aspect of learning with the spaces that you can create using those tools. You can build this environment where the task or objective or the standard is being achieved, and you can make it go any way you want to. And it does exactly what you put in. So the students can be, speaking with a historical figure and asking it questions about their life and their contributions. We just did a Black History Month program, and I was able to create a space where they were talking to historical Mary McLeod Bethune about her life and her contributions to education. And it was just really neat because it was a little bit more conversational, personable. It asked them questions. They responded with their own personal lives. It, brought that aspect of being present in that learning environment a little bit more than, a paper and a pencil with a biography.
Well, maybe a little more authentic learning type of experience. Yeah.
And you can apply it to math steps. You can apply it to like creating theses and introductory paragraphs, and how do they use that to do this? It's really interesting, and the possibilities in AI are pretty much endless at this point. And I think
how do your students respond? How have they responded when you're using AI? I'm just curious as far as like this generation of students and the sort of how they've embraced this.
They love them some AI. Now it's about me trying to teach them how, the importance of digital citizenship and how to use it properly, and not use it for plagiarizing or anything like that. But to make sure that they are using it in a way that is productive to their learning. And that's why I do like the School AI, Magic School AI, because the space that I provide for them to do it in, it will not do anything but what I tell it to do. So if they get off topic, it will lead them back to the topic. If they try and ask it other questions, it will make sure we stay on task. It also provides those like play-by-play of what the students are saying to it. So So if there's something that would be considered like threatening or something, it'll alert the teacher, Johnny said this and this.
So you have some more being able to monitor.
Yeah, you can monitor it while it's happening. Yeah, it will show you you can click on their names. It'll show you their conversations. It'll show you how they're feeling. Are they getting the objective? Are they not on task with the objective? If they, start saying things about me, it'll say, hey, Susie's talking bad about you. She called you some words. But yeah,
I love that that's kind of built in. I love that there are school-specific tools using AI.
Yeah, especially since I think a lot of people are very almost afraid of AI and how it will take the place of the students' work. And trying to get people to embrace it is going to be a difficult task for sure.
Well, it kind of makes me think of just like how, when we put devices in the hands of students, good or bad, what, like when every student had a device in front of them, there was the sort of this thing of like, everyone's kind of afraid that is this going to be the thing that prevents students from learning? Is this going to replace teachers? Is this going to replace, well, for me, in my case, it was, are ebooks going to be the new thing and we'll never open an actual book? And, I think that the thing is it's just a different mode of teaching. Like it's a different way about going about learning, and not, it's just not this, it's not, you can't like do the exact same thing with AI. It's just a whole other experience. And so I think that mentality of like, being afraid of it is more of just like a fear of change sometimes. Fear
that's probably true.
Things, this is something I don't understand. Right. And so I think that's the part where some of that fear of this new technology is actually just a fear of change. And then we have, as teachers, we had to relearn how to do this.
Exactly, for sure.
You were identified by someone in your district as being pretty tech savvy. So I'm guessing that you've encountered some challenges when it comes to integrating this in your classroom.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to, well, I was going to say when you said something about the fear, they're being afraid of change. One of the biggest things is the teacher ability to embrace the technology or to even use it. We have all of these really cool things now that they're purchasing for us to use, and apps and tools and devices and things. But if you don't have the proper, training for these teachers to use them, they're not going to be effective.
Yeah.
The teacher has to know how to use each tool and each resource to its full, potential. And that's definitely been an issue. I'm the tech liaison for my school, and it's challenging sometimes.
I
When
understand that.
you have a teacher, who doesn't know how to work this panel, and it's not plugged in. It helps if you plug it in. So that's
Yeah. Oh,
definitely
yeah.
that's definitely an issue. Teacher ability. When it comes to the students, I think the digital divide between different households and students. Not everybody has a computer at home. Not everybody has internet at home. That's been quite difficult. Especially with students being one-to-one. Okay, go home and work on this assignment at home on your computer, do this, this, and this. Well, not everybody has a computer at home. Not everybody has the internet or the capabilities. Also, I think with students, they're easily distracted by by things.
Really?
I mean,
I've
I don't
never
know
heard
how
that
many.
before.
So the distractions that can arise from technology is quite a barrier.
Yeah.
Students can easily get distracted, get a tab, go off, and they're just used to having multiple tabs open, multitasking, doing this while they're doing this, watching the video while they do this, so those distractions are hard to overcome, and just hard to get the students to understand that it's a distraction, because to them it's
Yeah.
not even close to a distraction. They're not
Yeah.
bothered by it, and they don't realize
They're
it.
like, I can pay attention. I know
Yeah.
what's happening.
So,
There's so much research out there about how we really can't multitask.
yeah, but they all have good tools though to help with those things as well. I'm a big fan of Go Guardian
Mm-hmm.
and watching their screens while they're working and things like that. Really helps.
So I think it's so interesting that you sort of bring this up of just how we have to pay attention to those things, because it is part of their experience. I think there's some teachers that may just be like, well, we're not going to use computers at all because it's a distraction.
And that's a big issue.
Yeah.
Yes. They do not use their computers unless it's for a test.
Well, and I think that I totally understand that sentiment of that frustration of this is another thing for me to manage.
It's not working. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that trying to have that ability of paying attention to all of those things, that's exhausting, and that's a lot for some teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that that's part of that training and I think support that districts should have for teachers is just understanding that process, or helping teachers integrate it in small ways to build up to, a full-fledged kind of blended learning kind of experience.
But it's important because that's all the students know is digital. They could open your phone at 1 year old. They could get to their favorite game, no problem. And so if we are not using technology to teach them, you're doing them a huge disservice, because that's how they learn. That's how they interact with each other. That's how they do everything, is through this lens of technology.
I think about students knowing and understanding AI and how much I use it in my job, and there's so much in the world today that utilizes those kind of features, and having that experience, learning how to adapt to those new types of technology, how to troubleshoot, how to problem solve within the technology tools. If I didn't have that experience as a student, and even as a teacher, it'd be much harder to walk into a workplace and know how how to do those things.
Because it's used every day now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, my last question. If someone gave you a blank check to build an ultimate education tech tool, what would that look like? And how maybe would it solve some problems that you see today?
Okay, so probably, I think it would definitely have to be powered by AI. It would be personalized. It would definitely be all inclusive, making sure everyone is differentiating for each student, adapting to their learning styles or whatever like that. I definitely would want it to have offline capabilities because, again, the digital divide is a big thing, and technical difficulties, all of those things. It would be nice if it could be worked anywhere. But I definitely would like it to just kind of be adaptive to what does that student need to learn this objective, and it would be adaptive to their learning style. I really like the idea of also playing with augmented reality. I just can imagine being like learning about the Gettysburg Address, and seeing it, watching it, feeling the vibes, all of those things. I just think that there's no better way for you to learn unless you're like there. And I think there's been a lot of stuff happening with that for like science. Like there's a lot of photosynthesis and spaces, and you can, do all of that thing with augmented. But I would really like to see historically like that be explored a little bit more.
Yeah.
So my social studies came out there.
I mean, but I think that would be an amazing experience for students because I always think with social studies, even with literature, we try to immerse students in a context that they may not have any idea about, right? Like an historical period, like for them to understand the Oregon Trail maybe means a little bit more than playing the game Oregon Trail, right? Like to have that immersive experience in a authentic but safe way.
I had I taught the Oregon Trail one time, but this girl, she was in it. She was listening. She was in the game, and I was just trying to like get them to understand like being on the trail for 12 hours a day, like in a wagon in the heat, or all of those things, what that would feel like. And she raised her hand and said, "Mr. Windham, I would be okay. I would just plug in my TV and I would watch all day." And I was like, say, "Where are you plugging that TV in, girl?" I didn't know those wagons had a little outlet there.
Plug outlets, yeah. Those are the best. Man,
yeah.
Middle schoolers are the best.
It is hard for them to understand, like they see the world through their experiences. So getting them to identify with somebody and, the Norse during the Industrial Revolution is not, they don't get it. So it's really all about, adapting your teaching and learning into what fits into their experiences.
I love that. I think that's a great way to say it, because you're right. It's hard for them to understand something outside of their own experience. So, okay, this has been a fun conversation. I really love talking about all these technology tools. I'm excited. I'll share some of those links to the different tools in our show notes for the audience so they can check out the different things that you shared. And I really hope that you have a great rest of your school year. And just thanks for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Schoolin' Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds. Go ahead and subscribe to our feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, if you are enjoying our content, would you do us a favor and rate and review our podcast on iTunes? This helps others find our podcast and lets us know how much you love what we're creating. Branching Minds is an educational technology company using learning sciences and technology to help districts effectively personalize learning through MTSS. To learn more about us, check out our website, branchingminds.com, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn @Branching Minds.